Hello everybody and welcome back to another one of those Future of the Fortress videos. These are the videos where I read the forum posts that for the monthly Q&A that Tarn Adams does with the Dwarf Fortress and Bay 12 community, which can be found on the Bay 12 Games forums. Links in the description if you would like to commentate on these and ask questions and maybe get them answered by the Toad himself. As per usual, my reading is terrible, so if you don't like that, sod off or something, and I will be taking some feedback from previous episodes, so when there are multiple questions in a row, I will read question 1 and then response 1, question 2 and then response 2, just to make things a little bit easier for you guys. The first question comes in from Ear, and they say, a long time ago, you dealt with a specific problem in Annecy. Doors and floodgates were too bright when made out of colored stones. So bright, in fact, that people would refuse and dispose of doors and floodgates made out of the specific stone because of the glare. The colors of many stones were then changed to less bright versions of said regolith, while microcline and orthoclase were given darker secondary color for doors and floodgates. Cinnabar was outright made darker in color to reflect real life better, and with new red being acceptable enough for doors and floodgates. And the question is, do you plan to add more colorations for various stones? I'm assuming this would be post-release. And Tarn's response to the first question is, we've had some luck with recolors already, with the examples of weapons and non-economic materials, if I recollect. But we haven't widely applied it yet. I imagine we'll eventually get to everything, but it's quite likely that wooden objects might all be brown to start, rather than some of the underground colors. But we may end up with a lot more stone and metal code recolors if we can get the balancing right. Then Ear's second question is, what does this mean for stones that aren't a solid color, even from a far distance, especially putting stone or gem walls? And Tarn's response is, we built gem walls out of a few layers with a code recolor of one layer based on their descriptive color and text link RGB colors, which seemed to work pretty well. Some of them seem to pop out okay. Maybe the darker gem colors don't work as well that way, but yeah, conglomerate, etc. type walls would graphically be multicolored, and it's harder to address specific materials due to how careful we have to be with map tiles and data in the render, versus items where recolors are way cheaper. So that might take longer to get on a future pass, and the current map and wall recolors, tiles, and layers we have fall into the limited set of categories. The next question is a double whammy from Springens and Delfoso, if I said those correctly. And the first question is, after rewriting is complete, will you leave some Easter eggs, they're referring to the Steam version, will you leave some Easter eggs in the game relating to the old way to play the game? Like the infamous unfriendly UMKH keys? Would something happen if you were to use them? And also the response question, which is, I was actually wondering about the intro screen, opening animation, as a reference to 2D Dwarf Fortress. It is also iconic, as seen at the beginning of this video, and has a special place in our tiny, cold hearts. Are we going to see a new opening animation? So 2 questions about the Steam version, and Toady answers it in one swift swoop, saying, I'm not sure if any memory of UKMH is an Easter egg. It's too painful. And if I do leave Easter eggs, it seems imperative that I don't tell anybody, I think. And he says, opening, I am right at that area and the title and such, and I'm going to do the save structure first. But these questions need answering. I don't have the capability to play anything in a newfangled in my engine, like despite working with Kitfox, and something like these boyfriend dungeon transformation videos are beyond my reach to display. And I do think that showing the old animation as it stands might be too confusing for people expecting something not ASCII, so it has been a thing weighing on me, since I do also like my old silly animation. I do have no idea what will pop out of the process currently. If I personally could insert a little vote here, I would like to just say, keep the old animation. It's pretty great. Anyway, moving on. So the next question comes in from Skavman, I think is how you say that correctly, and they say, in the Z status screen, other than prepared meals, what else is included in the other category in food stores? And then there's me personally here going, I think it's approximately Like it's cheese, right? Prepared meals, obviously. Raw fish, eggs, I think. Non-edible plants and growths and other stuff that is like stored in the same area but isn't edible. And food like things like fats and various other things. I think tallow and nut pastes are kept in there. I don't know about the pucks that you get from pressing stuff. Those might go elsewhere. Honey, I think, is also under that, unless I'm mistaken, as well as royal jelly and various other things. But Tarn's response is, haha, yeah, Quintest, who's somebody else from the forums, got the list pretty much correct, which I think is basically correct for my list, and it is certainly dubiously decided with dyes and such. Oh, crap, there's dyes in there? Oh, well. And I remember I altered this semi-recently as a few months when I was looking at the migrant waves again, and they use a similar calculation with some wrong stuff in it. Maybe the same function call. I've forgotten if that fixes it elsewhere, perhaps? I don't know. I've noted it down. The next question comes in from Sue, and they ask, regarding Toady 1, most popular perhaps being the addition of 1 to 2 extra glyph sheets in quotes, and they say, do you have a short list of glyphs to add? And will they be based on Unicode glyphs or entirely custom? Question mark. Tarn's response, well, I have problems in mind that need to be fixed, but since this has been so far out of reach until now, I don't think at all about what the glyphs might actually be. Goblins seem hard, since you wouldn't want to introduce a new sheet from some language and be like, you get to be goblins, in quotes. But if they don't have to be goblins, they get to be goats or geese, or perhaps something further afield is warranted. I'd almost certainly use something like Unicode, etc., for a set of 256 or 512 new ones, if it goes more graphical than that. If we have that covered already over in graphics land, some sort of slight extension keeping the same ASCII-ish principles seems more proper. If the ASCII truly can't bear it, which seems true, that's the general sense, I think. Anyway. Quadruped style rewrite to say pull mountain goats away from G just seems like it creates more problems than it solves, but maybe not. This next is a twofer, and it comes in from Kyporium, and they say, regarding the patrol route from Kitfox, do we have to go all the way down to find our squad as it was done in the beginning of the video? Or is that just to show how awesome the fort is? Like, recenter on the leader or more members? Question mark. If I remember, you can recenter on the leader and open from their sheet. And then we have a discussion about that, whether or not that should happen if you click on each image, or whether we should try and be more unified with other parts of the game and have a recenter icon, despite the lack of space in that menu. Currently, the images, I think, at least for the leader, but it kind of remains an open question. So if I can interject here briefly, you can select any dwarf from the units screen and jump to them directly. I think that they are asking purely about how do you center on a squad? Do you have to go find the squad in your fort and then select them, or can you just find them in a menu? The answer to that question is yes, you can find them in multiple menus. On to the part 2 of their question. Can we recruit more than 10 dwarves in a squad? Is their second question. And Tarn's response is, this is the same as it's always been, in the sense of it being 10. In the raw text file, but I don't think that there's a hard-coded dependence. I don't remember if an old version had specific problems there. I've tried to add a lot more scrolling, though, and I probably missed cases. Currently, you cannot manually add more than 10 dwarves to a squad, and that's Tarn's roundabout answer. The next question comes in from Squananimous, and they say, to what extent will we be able to modify the art style? Would it be possible to make something more akin to Castlevania sprites with more realistic proportions, and it's simply being a matter of making all the pieces match up? Or would artists have to conform to the existing big-headed style for the dwarves and such? Tarn's response is, currently, the body and equipment and clothing tiles are layered without pixel-wise offsets needed to be typed in text files or being hard-coded. This means that dwarves and goblins, etc., all have their own positioned body, equipment, and clothing set images that you can draw whatever you want for. We only have one universal guts picture, come to think of it. So many have a few positions like that. We are currently uniform, even between horse and a person. If it misses. But overall, you can make an entirely different look for a layered civilization of characters if you like. You can also layer non-civilized creatures if you want. If you want to show a giant holding a sock, you can. Though eventually, in the time and memory would get used, would be pretty silly in this system, so there are limits. I'm not sure if we'll end up with an offset-enabled system in addition in the more distant future, or if we'll just leave it as it is. TLDR, yes, you can make a custom civilization with custom clothing if you want. Next question comes in from Central Speaker Dan, and they say, I know that for the Steam version of Dwarf Fortress, you have enlisted the help of some of the community, including Meph. If the Steam and itch.io release does well enough, is there any chance that you might continue to work with some community members on core development? Meph isn't working on the project anymore and has been replaced by Josh, the artist behind Iron Hand. Just wanted to get that out of there. I know that there are a lot less demanding tasks that could be done by secondary developers, such as increasing animal diversity or creating more detailed bodies for certain types of creature. I'm also aware that the community provides bug fixes in their mods and mod packs. Thus, another task could potentially be done by a full or part-time employee? ? Basically, I'm very excited by the Steam release and the potential that its development has for increasing development speed and/or quality more generally, even if it's only in minor areas of development. And Tarn's response: yeah, I don't have much to add, but more will certainly be possible if all goes well, but the concerns still apply. I've considered, for example, releasing the code for world generation, but even that can be a whole can of mess when it comes to proper licensing versus bug fixes people find and all that. Not that people aren't already checking the inner workings and reporting bugs. On the other hand, the original porting of SDL work, which was admittedly a bit more self-contained than World Gen would be, went forward and worked with licenses from the contributors and contributing code distribution, so everybody could share in their work. If you grab it with the Linux version currently. The other way, bringing people in the closed source programming side as an employee, etc., well, it hasn't felt like an option for a variety of reasons. Some of those reasons may vanish, others may remain, but I haven't ruled out anything entirely. The next one comes in from Indigo Phoenix, and they say, how are values and spheres evaluated when determining the relationship between two civilizations? We have a pretty elaborate explanation for how ethics impact the chances of two civs going to war, but I haven't been able to find any circulation as far as values or spheres are concerned. Does it just add up to the total difference in values? Do similar values reduce the chances of war, as with similar ethics? ? Tarn's response is, let me see. For spheres, the leader looks at their own religion and their own metaphysical makeup, if they are, example, a demon. And their worship strength. For a demon, it uses a number little higher than 100% and sets it against the enemy's leader's religion or metaphysical makeup. And it looks for opposing spheres, in the same sense as they oppose when choosing them for gods. And if there are matches, it applies the penalty. I don't see any positive modifiers immediately. I'm not sure values were ever invoked in the direct comparison calculation, I think. They came later, and I didn't get around to adding new calcs when writing the historical sentences, etc. It seems the same to be true of thinking about whether the leader wants to have a war generally. Several personality facets matter, but their intellectual valuing of peace as an ideal doesn't seem to enter into it. And rather than a statement about the world, this is down to the implementation of order. Since they'll only commemorate wartime stuff if they value power or don't value peace, but it doesn't enter into their actual thinking. So I warn you, this last one is interesting, but has a lot of jargon in it, so if it's not understandable, that is not really my fault. I will do my best to read this as I can. So this question comes in from Bumber, and they say, so in the announcement code, there are several checks for adventure mode. If a position is set for the announcement, X exclamation point equals minus 30,000, then the type is not one of creature sound, regular conversion, conflict conversation, or mechanism sound, and the adventurer is not one of the units involved. There is a final check that will cause the function to return without doing the announcement. If I'm not mistaken, it's a check if the 5th bit of the tile's flags is false. This results in the return of the file undesigned or undesignated for an upstair, ramp, upstair, or for an up-down stair, ramp, or upstair, my bad. And it will proceed with the function if the tile is designated for dig, channel, or downstair. What's the purpose of this check? And is it working as intended? It seems most likely that it should check for a hidden file, or for a hidden tile. This one's not technically a question, but I'll point out, I noticed the checks for hidden units used in avoiding announcements if the player can't see any units involved, but it seems like the check for being on a hidden tile won't occur if the unit is in a cage on the ground. This could potentially result in the announcements being displayed that shouldn't if a caravan gets spooked and drops a caged animal while exiting through the caverns. I'll create a bug report if I can confirm that. There might be some substantial implications in other parts of the code. Tarn's response is, in adventure mode, the visible tile flag is the 5th bit. It co-inhabits with some of the dwarf mode digging stuff to save room. Since I think the dwarf hidden flag might be if you ever saw it, not if you currently see it, where the flag was needed. The hidden re-edit and then the hidden check. There's a check right below in the dwarf mode version that checks if the unit's location's tile is hidden regardless of the caged state. And that should prevent the dropped cage unit from firing off any messages themselves. If I found that right part, and if that's what you mean, though maybe I'm not getting the situation correctly, there's a check just above for the caged creature specifically being held by a creature where it returns to the creature's state instead. But if the caged creature is on the ground, it should continue on the hidden tile check. Though it only does the check if the creature in question is not player-controlled, so you still get messages in the event of a player-controlled creature somehow making it into hidden territory without revealing it. Did you get that? Yep. Okay, that's good. So I just want to now say, thank you very much for watching this month's Future of the Fortress. Of course, there's more posts in the forums that I didn't read that were responses to other things that Tarn mentions, which you can go read by going down to the Bay 12 forums in the link of this video, or in the description of this video. That's the words I was looking for. And I just wanted to say a real quick thank you to everybody who's been supporting this channel over the past couple months. It's been kind of crazy over here. And if you're watching this YouTube video, thank you very much for watching it. I'd love to know what you think down in the comments section. I apologize for my terrible reading. If you would like to support this video directly, you can do that via my Patreon, as you're seeing my patrons on the screen right now. And if you would like to support Bay 12 and can't wait for the Steam version, please chuck them $1 a month on Patreon or a couple bucks on PayPal, because it's literally what's bankrolling the game up until it comes out on Steam and itch.io. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.